So there was a lot of new information on this, and usually the answer documents are the most boring documents because there's little information. What they are, and let's see. Let me go back to the first one just to show you and there's probably a better way to do this, but I don't know what I'm doing. So they take the numbers from the complaint. Every paragraph in the complaint is numbered, and each one is an accusation. And so once the person that's being demanded to give this answer receives it, then they take every paragraph number and they give their response. And what they try to do in these is to be as vague as possible. And oftentimes their answers are so vague that it turns out the opposing side says, hey, I'm filing a motion to compel because you didn't give good answers. And so they'll have to try again. But because they're so vague, and that's all they are, they do tend to be a boring read. So I saw there was a new one after yesterday's episode, and I was exhausted, and I'm like, oh, I'll deal with this later. But I went to go lay down, and I saw Lauren was live. So I thought, well, I'll just listen, see what this is about. And, oh, thank you. I get called AI. It used to be every week, and now it's about once a month. So now I guess people can't call me AI anymore. But anyway, I'm literally shaking right now talking to you guys. So bear with me if you hear my teeth chattering. So anyway, I was listening to Lauren, and my eyes were closed, and all of a sudden I was like, what did I just hear? What did I just hear? And I know I won't be able to do it justice as well as Lauren did last night. I mean, she's got this great laugh, and just hearing her go through and like reacting to this was really amazing. But there are so many extra pages to this one because after she goes through the typical answer, then she gets into the counterclaim. Now, the last time she did a counterclaim, it was adding Stephanie Jones as a third party. So that in itself was kind of exciting. But we didn't get as much information in that one as we get in this one. And this one is so juicy, like more juicy than I ever expected. I didn't think we were going to get information like this until deep into the trial. Sorry, I need to drink a little bit. My mouth is going totally dry. Oh, I haven't been this nervous since I can't think of when. But anyway, so here's where we're at. At this part of pre-trial everything, we've gotten through most of the juicy business. Like once everyone stops filing amended complaints, we stop getting more information because at this time it's all in the background. The attorneys are speaking to each other, but unless there's a problem, they're not going to file a document. They're not going to have a hearing. They're just going to talk amongst themselves. And so, oh, from Australia, yay. I know there's a way. Do I click show? Can you see? Oh, I can see. Yay. Okay. Sorry, my brain is like wired wrong. So it's really hard for me to concentrate on comments as well as what I'm trying to say. I'll lose my place so fast. But Australia, very cool. Anyway, see, I've completely lost my place. So anyway, yes, so behind the scenes, that's what's going on. But there's all kinds of juicy stuff going on. It's just we don't get to see it because it's not in documents. So we're deep into the discovery phase. It's been going on for a while. Hey, Artificial. Hey, Christy. I know I should be saying hi to everybody. Jill, Scrubbing and Suds, Chasing Charlatans. Some of you I know you very well, just your handle, but I don't know how to say C. Delane 3, one of my regulars, Roman, Agatha, Vamp, Slim and Baked, Cats, Sandub. Hey, everybody, Mitts. It's going by kind of fast. Anyway, so it's all an LH. It's going by really, it's going by all behind the scenes. And what they're doing with discovery is they're collecting the evidence that they're going to use in trial. Some of it we'll see in trial, some of it we'll never see, because if it doesn't make it to trial, And I still don't know what we're going to be allowed to see when the trial's actually going on. Normally with federal trials, it's all done off camera. It would be amazing if at some point that gets opened up, some point before that trial, or if he'll get special permission to open this one up. But normally federal trials, we don't get to see on the regular streaming stuff. So what we have to do is wait for all the reporters that are actually there, and then they come during breaks and they give updates. So I'm hoping that since he did allow us to hear that hearing, just the audio of it, I'm hoping that he will let us at least have audio of the trial, which would be super cool. Thank you, July Baby. I do actually have one audiobook out there. It's from the Murdaugh, the Alex Murdaugh murder stuff. That's what I had my start on here doing. And one of the jurors from there wrote a book about her experience, and I got to narrate that. So it's called The Long Road to Justice, and it's on Audible. So anyway. All right. So the trial. Yes. So I really didn't expect to have, especially after Brian Friedman said he wasn't going to amend his complaint. And I had really been hoping he was going to, because he kept giving little hints that there was new information. So I was like, if he amends the complaint, we're going to get to hear this new information. So when he said he wasn't going to, I was disappointed. Then this came out. And after this, I think pretty much for sure there's going to be a lot of amended complaints, because this was a bombshell. But where we are in discovery, there's probably already depositions being taken. They've already exchanged a lot of information. Somehow Blake's held back on that subpoena that we all want to see so badly. She still has not produced it for Team Justin, which is absolutely outrageous. And at first I thought, well, you know what? They can go to the court and get a copy of it. But now that we know there is probably no court record of this ill-gotten subpoena that we can even trace that they can even go to the court and ask for a copy. So you guys are so sweet. You're distracting me now. My brain doesn't work like that. But thank you all so much. So anyway, because of what's in here, I think there's going to be a lot more amended complaints, but where they are in the discovery, a lot of things have already been shared. So we can expect that they know a whole lot more about what went down. And that's obviously what happened behind this amended answer, that this discovery, it feels like either some witness testimony or even what they've been able to pull off of things like phone records and stuff like that. And we're going to talk a lot about Jennifer's iPhone and that kind of stuff. The accusations that she makes, those things are easily pulled off of devices. So I'm pretty sure at this point, the accusations that she makes in here are founded in actual evidence, because something like this is so easy to get from a phone. But anyway, so we start off, and I skipped the first many pages because the answer still just the same boring stuff. Admit this, deny this. And then we get into where we get to the employment agreement. Now, when Jennifer Abel first signed on with Stephanie Jones, it was against the advice of a lot of people, because Stephanie Jones had already a reputation. And she decided to do it anyway, against everyone's advice. And that was in 2022. Now, when she signed that first employment agreement, it had a California choice of law provision. And California law is really good for employees. It has a lot of protections just automatically written into it. So this was really good for her. At the time she's entering, there's a number of people exiting, specifically the New York office, which is where Stephanie Jones is most of the time. So Jennifer Abel was hired to not really set up, but get the Los Angeles branch going better. And then Stephanie was in New York. Where Stephanie was, there was just a mass exodus. Now, so that it wouldn't alarm Jennifer, Stephanie tells her, oh, these were horrible employees. They were going to be fired anyway. So that's why they're going. And so, she may have taken it that way. Obviously, she wasn't alarmed so much by it. But she said what she discovered once she started working there is that this high turnover rate was kind of an all the time thing. And it was because the employees were disgruntled and demoralized. So she said she describes the morale of the place as outright abysmal. My mouth is so dry. Sorry about how that sounds. But the departures, no one really got to leave like in a good place. It was acrimonious, and people were scared to even talk about their experience because of the threats and things like that they were facing. So that's why a lot of this information of how bad it wasn't really out there at that time. And as it says here, it has to do with, it was correlated with the physical proximity to Jones. So New York is where Jones was most of the time. That's where the low abysmal morale was, because they were near her. They didn't have any kind of human resources department. There was no structure for reporting grievances. So when you have this kind of toxic workplace culture and you have nowhere to report it or to get help, it turns to gossip. So it says there was internally, a lot of gossip amongst the colleagues there. They also, and this is crazy, they had no written internal policies. They didn't have an employee handbook. And it's kind of a large firm, so this is really shocking. So now we get to her phone. Sorry, I'm kind of gasping here. Still shaking, calming down a little bit. So Jennifer has an Android phone. I love Android. All my phones have always been Android. It's so different than iPhone. I used to have an iPad years ago when there weren't a lot of choices for tablets. And just like the way the systems operate, once you get used to one, you just really don't like the way the other one works. So I can understand how Jennifer didn't quite understand the functions of an iPhone and then an iCloud and things like that. So when you read this at first, you're like, how could she have been this? I don't want to say stupid, because it's not about stupidity. Maybe naive, or not fully understanding how iPhones work. You kind of get that feeling, but at the same time, when you're not a bad person, when you would never do these kinds of things to other people, I think you have an innocence that you just wouldn't imagine somebody else doing that to you. So I don't think it's a naivete. It's an innocence. You just wouldn't imagine somebody doing it, so you don't think like that. And I think that's a lot of what happened here with Jennifer. So she has this Android, and Stephanie says, we want you on an iPhone. Here's a company phone. And Jennifer makes the mistake of linking her own private phone number to this company phone. And then from there, she goes on to add her emails, her third-party apps, her pictures, her videos. It all goes into this iCloud, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So, I mean, if any of you are on company phones, don't do that. Don't ever do that. Keep it absolutely separate. If you can't afford a second phone plan, just keep one on you that runs on Wi-Fi, and keep your personal stuff on that, and use it when you're somewhere where there's Wi-Fi or hotspot from your company phone. But by all means, do not mix your personal stuff on a company phone, because they have a right, unless you specifically sign something, that is they own that. That's their property. They can even listen into your conversations. Now, what they're supposed to do, if they are monitoring you, because they have a right to do that, and if, especially if you're working remotely or something, they can do that. But what they're supposed to do is, if they hear you making a personal phone call, they're supposed to stop the monitoring immediately. So there is somewhat protection, but it's not it's just not a good idea. So yes, she was way too trusting, and that's the thing. You gotta, yeah. Well, I mean, she'll probably never trust anyone again after this. But sometimes, if you've never had something like this happen to you, it's just not something that you think about. So even though she has her stuff on there, she felt that she had this reasonable expectation of privacy. She thought, well, they would have no reason to get into my stuff. Plus, she did have passwords and stuff, so she felt like her stuff was protected. So then what happens on November 22nd of 2021, so a year after she's hired, she has a new employment agreement. This time, it's not listed as California choice of law. It's been changed to New York choice of law, which does tend to be a little bit more favoring of the companies than the employees. So it's kind of different than California law. So she was, though, at all times a resident of Los Angeles, California. She worked there. She lived there. She had no connection to New York. So I don't know how that will play out, because if it was written into her employment agreement, it may get decided that it does fall under New York choice of law. I don't know if that changes since she's no longer contracted with them, but I don't know how that will work out, but she's hoping for California law. Anyway, where are we? The second year. Now, this is where it starts to get really juicy. Stephanie Jones starts to appear to be deteriorating, and she speaks about her concerns for her mental stability. Now, it starts off innocent enough, stuff we've heard about her wanting to FaceTime Jennifer all the time, but it gets to where it's late at night. It goes through the night to the next morning. She starts becoming more paranoid. She starts becoming difficult to communicate with. It starts getting harder for Jennifer to calm her down. And it's starting to show not just with the employees now, but also with the actual clients. There's an article. Now, some of this kind of goes in and out of where we are in time, so it's not exactly chronologically written here. But this article is in the Business Insider. And it's because she's losing these big clients, and they're kind of making noise. The Rock is one of them. Jeff Bezos. So these people are not going quietly anymore. And so this article gets written, and we'll see that come up again. But a website is made on May the 8th, 2024. Now, if you're thinking of the calendar of events, this is just a couple of months before the movie premiere, when the movie stuff all starts to fall apart. So everything is falling apart all at once last year. So this website, and it's actually called Stephanie Jones Leaks. So this goes live, and it has an X account, a Facebook account, a Reddit account, a Pinterest page, and people start telling about her behavior and her business practices and their experiences with her. So Jennifer makes sure she says, she didn't have anything to do with this. In fact, we know that to be true because we know she was very busy with the movie premiere at this time. And so these revelations, they make a firestorm in Hollywood. And so what happens is this article, this Business Insider piece, and it's called "Who's Afraid of Stephanie Jones?" So this is, in August 17th, right smack in the big throwdown that begins between Blake and Justin. And so it's just like the timing couldn't be worse. So we already know she's described as by Jennifer as deteriorating. Now she describes her as becoming noticeably more paranoid, erratic, and cruel. And this, the workplace, we've already seen that she described it as toxic, but she starts describing what that toxicity is. There's times that she wants to scream at and berate her employees. So what does she do? She turns on deafening music so that it can't be heard. I mean, this is crazy. I can't even imagine working in an atmosphere where the boss is doing this. But she said that there wasn't one day in the office that someone wasn't crying. And this is a former employee, so it could be Jennifer, but it very well could be that other people, after hearing about the situation between the filings and now this amended answer, there could have been some witnesses coming in and giving either their depositions or their affidavits about the things that they experienced. So some of this new information could very well be from that. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up, but I've been ignoring comments. I feel so bad. Yeah, nothing has been decided. One thing's for sure, this judge is taking his time with all of his decisions. He's going very, very slow. We don't know for any of the cases which choice of law he's going to apply. Not for a single one of them. Not one motion to dismiss has been granted or denied. That's everything still kind of hanging. And I think maybe based on hearing kind of some of this stuff that's going on, I think he's kind of waiting to make those decisions. I'm just happy that that the New York Times is still in running, that he hasn't, because way back for the hearing, I don't know if you guys heard that, but at the time he said that he was leaning towards granting that motion, and he hasn't done it yet. So I'm hoping that that means that he's still considering keeping them in it. I also feel like some of the stuff we're going to go over today might bring them back into the running, because right now their discovery is stayed. So no one can collect any information from the New York Times right now. But the stuff we're going to come across in this, I feel like he needs to open that back up, because we need some stuff from the New York Times to verify, especially this sham lawsuit. One thing I want to know is when they were first contacted, if it was before this lawsuit was set up. Because if it was, and they had anything to do with it being created, that's very important. We might need that information. So I'm hoping they get drugged back in. They're so well protected there but I want this to be the case that dooms that. And if they get denied, Brian Friedman's going to take it to the Supreme Court. He's not going to accept it, I feel. And I know they don't want that to happen. So anyway, we're back to Stephanie losing it. So not only is she FaceTiming Jennifer Abel all night long, but when somebody calls off, when they say they're sick, she FaceTimes them to make sure they're actually sick and not, out somewhere, I guess, not lying to her. There's even one guy, and we heard this in her previous document. He's at a funeral, and she FaceTimes him because she thinks that he's lying about being at a funeral. He's in the middle of the actual ceremony and gets a FaceTime from her because she's that paranoid. So it mentions again about the turnover rate, about them not being able to leave amicably because enlisting attorneys are used to threaten and intimidate them. And it's all about them not being able to speak after they leave. Yeah, it's gross. I have never heard of such a toxic atmosphere, and I don't know how she got away with it for this amount of time in these modern times. I don't know how she found people that were willing to put up with it or stay quiet once they left. So I don't know if, we heard that when Jennifer goes to leave, that she's surrounded by security blocking the door and attorneys, and very intimidating. So possibly they do that, catch them by surprise, make them sign an NDA. I don't know how they manage it in these days to keep these people quiet about their experience. So anyway, April 2023, like I said, this doesn't stay in chronological order. So now we've gone back a year. This is when The Rock leaves. And this is huge because not only is she representing him just as his personal PR person, she's also representing his production company, his tequila brand, his clothing company, his business partner. This is a huge loss to lose him. Then she's dropped by Bezos, another huge loss. Chris Hemsworth. And embarrassingly, I'm not sure who these, well, Ocean Spray I know. I'm not sure about Partake Foods, Sanchez, or Lainey Wilson, or Wheels Up. I'm not sure who those are, but obviously you lose a number of accounts like this with them being so big. She's really hurting. So through all of this, even these big name people leaving, which is a huge neon sign that something is very wrong here, Jennifer Abel stays loyal. So what am I seeing? About this, the judge dismissed. Are you talking about the motion that was the one that was dismissed today? Because that wasn't a big deal. That was because this amended answer was filed. It makes the old one moot. So it's like kind of by default that gets dropped. So it really wasn't a big decision. It just happens because a new one has taken its place. So the old one is moot now. So that's just like cleaning up work. That's not a big decision. So she's getting, by 2024, she says that she's getting increasingly embittered and hostile towards herself, Jennifer. She's starting to criticize her. She's getting paranoid about her because Jennifer Abel, and I've seen videos of her working with Justin. There's one that was so cute. I forget. I think he'd broken his leg, and she's pushing him through the airport, and he's just saying this really funny stuff. I can't remember if it was on Instagram or TikTok. It was adorable. But you can just see that she is a people person, that she can get along well. So her clients love her. And, apparently nobody likes Stephanie for good reason. That's going to make her start to feel paranoid because Jennifer's running the LA branch. So Marvel attorneys, right? What is this? I didn't hear this. Marvel filing just came out. Oh, goodness. I'm going to have to look at that. I'm going to have to look at that for sure. That's exciting. But, oh, that's big news. Now my mind's taken off over there. Let me come back. So because Jennifer's being so successful and Stephanie's losing everything, now she's trying to reprimand, demean, and embarrass Abel, which sounds a lot like jealousy. She gets erratic. She's not sleeping. She's calling all hours of the night. She gets in frenzied states. She's pitting her own employees against each other. And she describes her as actively unraveling. And if those things were actually happening, that's how I would describe it too. And Jennifer says that she was frequently on the receiving end of these outbursts. Now listen to these outbursts. These are insane. So Stephanie tells everyone, she announces it, I guess, publicly, somewhere in the office that a psychic reading has revealed to her that Jennifer is an alcoholic and a gambling addict. So just insane. And if you know anything about HR, you know that these are two things that you can't tell, even if they're true. But in this case, neither of them are true. So it's just a very bizarre, a horrible thing to do to an employee that's been nothing but loyal to you. So the next thing she does, she sees her psychic again, supposedly, and announces this time that Jennifer is soon to be pregnant with twins. And for heaven's sake, people, we got to stop talking about people's fertility, because here we have another, just like, and I know I'm going to slaughter her name, Kirsty Flaw, the one who Blake said something about when she congratulated Blake for her baby bump. She's like, congratulations for your baby bump, or for your bump, for your little bump, something like that. And then turns out that she actually has issues with infertility. So it was like especially painful for her to be mocked in that way. But you just got to be careful what you say. So Jennifer, the same, she's struggling with fertility issues. And now to have her announce this in front of everyone, it's just extra hurtful. And just, I mean, you just, especially as a boss, you just don't do these kinds of things. So then, and this, like, this is so bizarre. A grown woman at her big old age, her former employees and journalists, she would create fake social media accounts to troll these people. Can you imagine? She's got this huge company to run. She's got these big clients to take care of. And this woman is finding herself the time to create fake social media accounts to troll employees. Oh, a flash of orange. Well, thank you. Thank you, John Hustleham from Texas. Thank you very much. But yeah, this Marvel filing's got me all intrigued. So then we get to Jennifer Abel says, hey, it's expensive. After COVID, everything got so outrageously expensive. She asks, can my people receive a 2% cost of living raise? That's a small amount. We all know the prices of things after COVID. Everything is so much more expensive. These people haven't gotten a raise. 2% raise doesn't sound like much. Look at the reply. Stephanie says, well, sure, if it comes out of your paycheck. So it's just, can you imagine saying that to your employee? I mean, she's not even asking it just for herself. She's asking it for her staff. And this is the response that she gets from this boss of this company. So then when Jennifer's finally to the point where she's been pushed to the brink, there's a senior employee that for some reason Stephanie wants to drive out of the company. So how does she want to do it? In a very grown-up, mature, business-like manner. She wants to falsify accusations against this man to drive him out. And of course, Jennifer says, no, I want no part of this. And so when she refuses to go along with it, Stephanie's response is, she calls her a 12-year-old drama queen. Now, who's the 12-year-old drama queen? The one who's trying, instead of being a big girl and saying it's not working out, I'm going to have to let you go. No, she wants to make these false accusations and drive someone away. It's just crazy. So then we get to July 10th, and Jennifer says, that's it, I'm leaving. And she's so kind. She gives her a 6-week notice. That's a long period of time. A lot of people, some people don't even do their 2 weeks notice. But she's trying to give Stephanie time. She knows the position she's in. She's a leader in the company. She recognizes it's, not going to be overnight, that she can replace and train and all of that. So she's being really reasonable here, really nice. But even with that, Stephanie doesn't take the news nice. She describes her as having consistently increasingly erratic behavior, going from extreme to extreme. 1 minute, desperately attempting to convince her to stay. The next minute, berating her and cutting her out. She said she becomes very combative. I don't know how I make this go. I think I have to scroll back up to it, maybe? Sorry, still very foreign to me. So I'm trying to read this. Marvel stuff is really interesting. Oh, Ryan's not getting a motion to dismiss. Absolutely not. At this point, the only person, I have almost 600 people watching. That's crazy. That's crazy. I can't see it from here. So yeah, it doesn't, oh yes, I can. I just didn't know where to look. Oh, well, thank you. Almost 600 people. It's very nice of you to watch me fumble like this. Oh no, now I'm shaking again. Well, hello to the Netherlands. I love visiting your country. I've been there so many times. Absolutely love it. But can they sue Marvel or Disney? They passed the date to be able to add people. So I don't know, unless something like really big gets revealed, perhaps. But yeah, they did pass the deadline to add people to the complaints, but I think everything's going to turn around after this. So we'll see. And if Marvel's like getting involved, well, they've probably been served with lots of subpoenas for information, because I know they were really being sought, for kind of things. What happened to Deadpool? Like, how much did the people know what Ryan was doing? Who was involved in it? They're probably looking for proof that this is about, that it was specifically about Justin, the nice pool character. So Marvel is probably no doubt getting subpoenas left and right. And if they get information for that, they will probably subpoena for more, that sort of thing. So that's probably why they've come forward and filed something. But anyway, back to this crazy story of Stephanie Jones. Where were we? Yeah, so need to change. So what happens is, for that final 6 weeks, she's still an employee. She's still supposed to be doing her job. But Stephanie starts removing her from lists of things. She's not letting her know when they're having a meeting. She's not letting her get her emails. She's not letting her know about calls. Things that she's supposed to attend, she doesn't even know about. All of this it's just like silly, childish hostility. She's just being mistreated, just punished because she's leaving. So as she's getting close to the time that she's about to go, she wants her phone number back. So what she had done when Stephanie had given her the company phone, she wanted to keep her private phone number. And so, yeah, I haven't seen Nirvana for a few days. But last time she was missing, she had taken a lovely trip where she had unplugged everything. So hopefully that's where she is and what she's doing. He or she, I don't know who he or she, but Nirvana, I hope Nirvana is relaxing and unplugged. Where am I? So yes, so the number, her personal number, and she's attached to this number. She's had it since high school. And you know how it is when you change your number, there's always somebody you forget to tell. She wants her number. So she talks to Gordon Duran, who is, what is he, chief of staff or some, I forgot what his position is. But she lets him know, I need this phone number released. so that I can move my stuff to a different, my own private phone when I leave. He tells her that's fine. And so she doesn't take any steps to start wiping anything off her phone at the time. She thinks, she's just going to wait till the very end. Well, 2 days. Let me see if I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh yeah, she also mentions that she does have this 2-factor authentication. Oh, chief of staff, that's what he is. So she feels like her stuff is pretty safe, even though it's on this phone. She doesn't think anybody can actually get to it. So 2 days before she's supposed to go, she gets taken completely off guard. This is when she gets there. There's a physically imposing security guard. There's also a forensic data extraction technical expert. There's an attorney surrounded by documents. So it's intimidating. She gets taken into a conference room. I'm assuming he must be huge. She says physically imposing. This big security guard is posted outside the doors. I mean, what does that tell you? You can't leave. I mean, it's a terrifying position to be in. It would freak, I think, any of us out. I'd be on the phone though. I would totally panic. You'd hear me screaming. I'd be jumping everywhere. But anyway, some people kind of shut down instead of reacting. So, and she's been used to being intimidated by this person for a couple of years now. So they're making all these threats. And so they're accusing her of trying to steal proprietary information. So they're saying, well, we know that you have some of our stuff on your laptop that you shouldn't have. And now if she had thought, she would have said, you need a search warrant for this, but she didn't. They demand that she show her personal laptop to them. And they do a scan of it. And they find nothing. But then they say, well, there's this list of 10 documents that we believe you have. And so they did it again. And again, nothing. Because she wasn't a thief. She wasn't trying to walk out of there with her stuff. So then they asked for her phone. And she says that she had never experienced anything like this. It's so hostile. It's so intimidating that she just kind of shuts down. How does she describe it? Disassociated. She said she just kind of disassociates. And some people do that. Especially people who've never experienced anything like this. Or, you don't know what could have happened in someone's past either that can make this happen. Some people fight. Some people just turn into, what's that? Possums that do that? They just like play dead. But so anyway, they're in all of this, like they just shocked her. She comes in the door and all this is happening and there's all these people around her. She doesn't know any of them except the chief of staff. And so they've fully intimidated her. And they get her to sign all these things. She said that she didn't even digest what she was signing. She didn't know. I mean, she doesn't even remember to this day what she even signed, but she signed all these papers. I don't know if she even knows now what it was. But anyway, so, here, I've gotten ahead of myself. This is where they do the forensic search. There's nothing. They do it again. So she gives the phone. They also demand that she give a passcode. And is this my Shayna? Is this the Shayna? The author? Waiting to see her answer. If this is her, this is the author of the book I told you I read the Audible for. Anyway, Yeah, if you don't sign out of Google, someone can continue to read your emails. The pictures you take on your new phone. Oh, it's not the same, Shana. Where you're driving, they have your location, emails, and they can hear voice. Oh, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. What a world we live in. So they say they need the passcode in order to return the phone number to her. And all she can think of is she wants her phone number back, so she gives it to them. What she doesn't realize is that that gives them access to absolutely everything. They had no right. Now, it is a company phone, so they did have a right to access anything company related. But her iCloud, her email accounts, her third-party apps, none of this. They have no right to get into any of that. But so once they take the phone, she confirms with Duran, you're going to give me back my number, right? You're going to release my number, right? Because they own the phone, they have to release it. He says yes. So she goes straight to Verizon to get that number back on her. You get a phone, get that number on her phone. 4 hours later, they're not taking any calls at all. So she's sitting there waiting at Verizon. Verizon's there waiting to set up her new phone. Nothing is happening. They're not calling her back. And she realizes, this is it. They have my stuff, you know. So it takes her over a month to regain control of all of her accounts. And she doesn't know what this Shayna just told us. It's the same with iMessages and the iCloud. So even though she got it on her new phone, she thought because she put it all on her new phone that it would disappear off of the other one. Like with the new number, that everything, like she thought that they couldn't access it. So she just goes about her life. Then she finds out from some of her old colleagues that Stephanie is sharing information from her phone there at work. And let's see, let me get back to where I am here. So this gets really bad because she has a fiance. You can imagine there's all manner of private stuff between the two of them that this unstable, cruel woman has access to. There's also things that should be under privilege. Doctors. Later we find out lawyers. Her parents, her friends. And you know she's just left this company, and so you can imagine the kinds of things that she's saying that, you know, are not pleasant at all to Stephanie. But Stephanie she has access to all of this. And I think it gets a little bit, we're going to get into more detail about that in a moment. Yeah, so we're going to go to a different, let's see. We're going to go to a different point in time again. So we're going to jump back to July of 2024. So this is around the time that all of this information is coming public about Stephanie, the article, the website. And then it's also coming up to the movie premiere. I can't remember exactly what month. It wasn't long before filming ended and then the movie premiered that Justin was actually hospitalized because he got an infection in his spine. Do you remember? He was hospitalized for kind of long for these days because they don't really like to keep you in the hospital. And then I think he had like 6 weeks of IV treatment. That's how serious the infection was. So was it June? Thank you, Scrubbin and Suds. June. So a lot of things are happening all at once. Justin's like physically broken. Stephanie's reputation is broken. The premiere's coming up, and Jennifer's leaving. Leaving Stephanie, and she's keeping Joan's works. And this is what we're going to get into right now. So she starts to realize, Stephanie, that she's going to lose the Wayfarer account and all of the people in it, that she's going to lose them to Jennifer, because she knows that they've got a good rapport with each other. They're in the midst of a massive PR crisis. And when you see pictures of Justin, like from the time that they filmed the movie to the premiere, I mean, you can see the weight loss. Like his cheeks are sunk in. He looks bad. You could see he's really, really been sick. So they're in this massive PR crisis. And there's all this tension between Blake and Justin. The breadcrumbs start falling. You know, Blake starts dropping these breadcrumbs that she described. This woman cannot stop telling on herself. So she's dropping these breadcrumbs to let tension and speculation. And this part, you know, I talked about this a couple episodes ago in my smear campaign episode. It's so silly to think that Justin, Jamie, Wayfarer, that any of them would want a smear campaign against Blake right at the timing of the movie premiering. He would not want to destroy this movie that he has spent 5 years of his life to make, that he endured all of that terrible treatment by Blake just to get this movie out. And then he's going to destroy it all himself, you know, saying bad things about Blake. It's so silly. So it's actually the opposite. They're like, oh no, this is going to destroy the movie premiere. This is going to destroy the movie. We're in crisis here to save not just himself, to save this movie, because Blake's the one dropping crumbs that something's wrong. She's the one getting the rest of the cast to unfollow him, to get people talking, because it's not so much about the movie for her. It's her own reputation. That's all she cares about. And the attention that she can get for herself. So yeah, she makes me sick too. And wow, even more so the more you hear, you know. So anyway, let's see. So Jones has always treated Wayfarer like they weren't important, because they're a small company. When she's got people like she had Rock and Bezos and Tom Brady, you know, someone like Wayfarer and Justin, I mean, that's small potatoes. That's not on her priority list. So she's never really put much attention to them in the first place. Jennifer's been the one in all this time. So Wayfarer is panicking, and they say, you know, we need a crisis management specialist because we don't know what Blake's going to do. This is starting to get out of hand. So Jennifer says, hey, let's use Melissa Nathan. I've worked with her before. She's great. She's in talks with Melissa Nathan, actually, because Melissa tells her that with her media contacts, that she's heard that there's a negative story being shopped. So what does that mean? When someone wants to get a story out into the media, they go around to this outlet and that outlet and see if that outlet will pick it up. Some stories the outlets don't want to cover, and some they do. So word kind of gets to Melissa, because she has contacts with these people, that these stories are being shopped. And of all things, what is it? Justin's religion. They want to attack his religion. In 2025, that's their first choice of attack. So we can see why it's being shopped, because I bet a lot of outlets are saying, no, we're not talking about somebody's religion. And so there's also the story where Blake, she just can't let this one go. You know, it's her own self-esteem issue behind it. But this whole fat shamed thing, you know, keeps that. These are the stories that they're trying to leak. And so they know that someone's up to this, because not that many people, I bet there's a whole lot of cast and crew that had no idea that that happened, because it wasn't something public. And if you're not familiar with what the fat shaming is, Justin has a bad back. I mean, obviously, we just talked about, he just had an infection in his spine that laid him up really bad for a long time. So this is an accurate depiction of his health. So Blake has a trainer, and the trainer steps over and is helping Justin as well. Now, this should be, if he were a professional guy, I mean, I know it's not the same level as like doctor-patient privilege, but this guy was nothing but a troublemaker. Justin asks him about Blake's weight, but he asks him for something very specific. There's a scene where he has to lift her. And I believe that scene is like after she falls down the stairs. So we're talking about a floor to standing lift. You know, and for any lifters out there, you know that that's the most dangerous lift, from all the bending down to the floor and lifting something. You can hurt yourself if you don't do that right. So this is something that he's concerned about. He wants to train for it. Why does he want to know her weight? He's not like, ooh, what does she weigh? You know, some sicko perversion thing. He wants to use a body double that's her same weight or around her same weight, so he can practice on the body double to be sure that he can do it, so he doesn't end up hurting her. Like, what if he tries it for the first time on Blake and he drops her? They both get injured. You know, that would be a disaster. So he's asking for a professional reason. He's asking what should be a professional person, not so he can fat shame her. And you see their communication when she's speaking, and you can see like her low self-esteem, her worries because she's just had her fourth baby. It's something that's really on her mind. And he is always real supportive of her in all of those communications. So this wasn't about that. This was about protecting his back and protecting her. So, but this silly trainer, this unprofessional trainer, goes back and tells Blake, oh, Justin asked how much you weigh. And so they invite Justin over to their home, and Ryan tears into him, cussing him out. How dare you ask my wife's weight, and all of this. Well, she throws such a fit that the whole scene gets written out of the movie. And then in Blake's first complaint, she lies and says there was no such scene, that he just wanted to know her weight. And then, of course, Justin, Mr. Receipts, shows the receipts of this scene. And it was, in fact, part of the movie. And there was, in fact, a body double that he had been practicing with. You know, so that, and it was for her own good, for his own good. I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyway, this is the thing. This little story bothers her more than anything. That you know, it's humiliated her somehow. So this is a story that's getting leaked, and so this PR crisis person, Melissa Nathan, Stephanie Jones doesn't like her. She doesn't want her hired. And so she starts throwing fits about this. She's telling Jennifer, don't promote this person. Don't sign this person with them. And then it even goes so far that she wants Jennifer to disparage Melissa to the Wayfarer team, to try to discourage them from hiring her. And so she does. She says she does some light disparaging, which I think is a hilarious way to say it. Some light disparaging. But anyway, yes, Virginia, exactly. So she uses her voice for Lady Pool, but her husband hires a body double to actually be in the costume. I think you mean Lady Pool, right? Yeah, yeah, okay. I thought that's what she meant. Yeah, your own husband gets someone to play a role and just lets you give the voice. Like who's the person actually humiliating you here? So yeah, light disparaging to placate Jones. But actually, as we see later, as we see in the communication, Jennifer Abel and Melissa Nathan actually get along very well. I think they even make a plan to go into business together. So anyway, but Jamie Heath says he acknowledges Stephanie's position, but he wants to meet Melissa Nathan and make his own decision. So they end up hiring her, and of course, this makes Stephanie even more angry. And now, because she's faced with losing Wayfarer, she wants to try to make it look like, she's actually involved with them. She's actually going to take care of them. And I love this sentence. So, in fact, in this time when everything's fallen apart, she takes this extended vacation to Europe. So she's not even there when her clients need her. And then he says, I think this is actually, we always give Brian Friedman all the credit. But if you look at these filings, we see Mitchell's name first. So I think that, oh, thank you, Jenny Rose Campbell. So I think that Mitchell is actually the author of these beautifully written, I mean, I've talked about it before. He has witty spice, like the way he expresses himself. It's, Ezra, I think, is just like, she's just nasty. I mean, there's no wit behind what she says. It's just meanness, and to me, that's just so off-putting and unprofessional. You expect lawyers to take stabs at each other, but thanks, Marbella, but make it witty, make us like it. Don't just be a mean girl. But, I guess I heard this, people hire attorneys that are like themselves. And I think that's really true. So he says, even from afar, Jones' efforts were ham-fisted, unwelcome, and sporadic, given her distance from Wayfarer's day-to-day business. I just pictured big hams on her fist, just that awkward, just that too much. So also she's a drama queen, allegedly. So don't sue me, Stephanie. So she's stirring up drama because that's what she does. Yes, I agree. I think she, grab my water here real quick. I think she suits Blake. I think she suits Blake just perfectly. So where are we? And now we see the ham fists in action, because at this point, everything has broken down between Blake and Justin. I mean, it's irrevocably broken. There's no walking it back. But they've decided on a truce. You don't say anything bad about me. I won't say anything bad about you. Let's just get through this movie premiere and, keep anything bad from happening. But as we saw in earlier documents, the very day they talk about this, Leslie Sloan goes and makes a statement to the Daily Mail. So Blake's side is talking, and we also see Daily Mail reaching out to Jennifer Abel, and Jennifer Abel's keeping her end of the bargain. She's not talking. She will not give them a statement. But Leslie's talking. So that's why I always say Leslie started the whole thing. She fired the first shot. So there's this uneasy truth that, unbeknownst to Wayfarer, Leslie's broken, but they really just want to keep the peace. But on August 8th, Hamfist Jones, in a desperate attempt to reinsert herself, contacts a Daily Mail reporter about a story they had published about Baldoni and Lively. As they say, direct violation of Wayfarer's instructions not to talk to the press. They meant it when they made this truce, but behind their backs, she goes and talks to the Daily Mail. And as it says, they're left to deal with this. Yes. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up a little bit with your comments. I absolutely agree. I mean, Ryan's motion to dismiss sounded like it was straight up written by Ryan, with an attorney coming in and putting the legal words in where they needed to go. That first one, it was so bad. And it was just like that biting nastiness that he does, that, I don't know, he thinks it's cute. You know, certain things you got away with in your 20s, you kind of got to stop doing when you get close to 50. It's not funny anymore. But yeah, it was, I think they're taking authorship, right? Of the taking authorship of the filings. So anyway, she's giving statements to the Daily Mail, which of course they're going to put out there. So guess what happens? Leslie Sloan and Sony hear that someone from Baldoni's team is speaking negatively to the press. So now they're angry. It's Jones. It's not Jennifer Abel. It's not Melissa Nathan. It's not Justin. It's Stephanie Jones. So everybody's mad. And then what happens? Jones is like, oh no, well, I don't want to get blamed for this. Oh wait, no, that comes later. Sorry, I got a little bit ahead of myself. So they kind of just say, Stephanie, go away. We'll handle it. And so between Jennifer Abel, another Los Angeles-based employee, Matthew Mitchell, and Melissa Nathan, they're like, we'll take care of this. Please go away. But the damage has been done. So she doesn't go away. She says she can do whatever she wants to clear her name. And so she proceeds to make a bunch of calls to try to salvage her relationship between Blake Lively and also Sony. Now, this part reminds me of Blake too, because Blake herself, as I've talked about in so many podcasts before, she herself is not this great star. Her power is in being Ryan Reynolds' wife and Taylor Swift's friend. So when Blake wanted to exert herself, she knew she didn't have the power on her own to do it. So she brought in, remember, the thing that she will never live down, talking about her dragons. So we see Stephanie do the same thing, because Stephanie's married to Jason Hodes, who is a partner at WME. This guy's very powerful. This is how Justin ends up being dropped from WME. So she mentions her husband. She goes to them and she places all the blame on this on her team, because she wants to save her own reputation, her own face. She blames it on her team. So now this is what Sony gets told. This is what Leslie Sloan gets told. So this is what Blake and Ryan would hear as well. That it's not Stephanie, that it's her team. Well, who's the team that's working with them? Jennifer and Melissa. So right away, they're planting this. They said that she becomes a magnet for drama when it was least needed. So they're over there trying to put out fires, and Stephanie just won't stop making new fires. And so this is when she really sees she's going to be cut loose. She's going to be fired from Wayfarer, because they're furious with her at this point. And let me try to move this along. I'm kind of taking too long here. I think some of this is a little bit repetitive, so we can kind of, basically we know what kind of personality she is now. And so then she starts sharing these private communications. And we've talked about this before. On August 21st, Melissa Nathan gets a phone call from Leslie Sloan, who's been provided with information from, not just from Jennifer Abel's phone, but information that's on her iCloud. So that's when Leslie Sloan says to Melissa Nathan, I've seen all the texts. You're going to get sued. So now we know, because the only people that had access to that stuff, it was just Stephanie. So we know that Stephanie leaked the information at that point to Blake's team. And we know Leslie Sloan, I mean, she's an employee of Blake Lively. So we know she passed it along at that point to Blake and Ryan. And that's when everything blows up. So what's happening right at that time in August, when everything's coming together, this is when people are making fun of Blake. They're talking about her tone deafness for the way she's marketing this movie. So she's never really had this big old storm of negative publicity before. And when you're this legend in your own mind, and all of a sudden people are being mean to you, you just can't fathom that it could possibly be because they don't like you. So, I mean, it's got to be somebody's causing this to happen, because you're amazing. You're Blake Lively. So surely, somebody's doing this to you. So when she sees these text messages of them not speaking well of her, let's just see this. Yes. I think so that she herself wouldn't get sued. And I mean, everything we've seen about her, she's a vengeful person. When you have someone who's going and making fake social media accounts to stalk people, I mean, this is exactly right up their alley. This is exactly what someone like that would do, in my opinion. So, so I think not just for what Blake might give to her, but like what she might get out of it herself, to watch these people go down, because she feels like they've done her wrong and she wants revenge for it. She doesn't let anybody get away unscathed. So, so now we get to, where are we? So it says she sliced, she diced, she cherry-picked, massaged, and in some cases outright altered these text messages, and then presents them to the Lively party. So now they've got all this and they want to do something about it. But here's the thing. They know that they don't have these through any legal means by any stretch of the imagination. So what do they need to do? They need to create a veneer of legitimacy. So Blake needs it because of what she wants to do, her next move. And look at it outright says, the Lively parties likely anticipated or were told directly that the New York Times would not traffic in stolen communications. They needed the color of the law. So this is why I was saying earlier that the New York Times, they need the stay of discovery lifted. They need to come back in, because if there were communication with them, like if Blake came to them and said, I have this information, I want to do a story about this, and they looked at it and said, you don't have this legally, you need to get this legally. What we need to know is how this sham lawsuit came about, and if they were involved in it. So I feel like this whole stay needs lifted, so that we can find out, did they have something to do with this? Did this happen at their suggestion? Did they say, oh, we've had people do this before, you can do this? We don't know, like, what happened. This part of the story is missing because we can't have access to the New York Times discovery. No one can subpoena them for anything or depose them for anything. So this is where we are with that. But that's why I was saying they need brought back in. So, and then Stephanie, she needed a color of law to keep herself from being exposed, from breaching this confidentiality, because there's an NDA. You can't just expose this stuff. But not only that, she could have accessed the phone for anything to do with work-related stuff. But the stuff she has from Jennifer, she cannot have that stuff. And then we learn it goes beyond her just doing that. So, but then it talks about this lawsuit, and I've talked about this quite a bit in my last few episodes, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time because I've already been on here for a bit. So we know about this scam lawsuit. So there's apparently they've got a bunch of businesses, and personally, I think that when that ex-CIA guy was hired, my first thought it was just Ryan's involved in so many businesses. Is there something from a business standpoint that he wants to hide? Oh, you're so sweet, Marbella. So is there something that he's trying to hide business-wise? That was my first thought, because I'm like, it's not normal to hire someone of this caliber for a lawsuit like this. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But now it makes sense to me, because people are starting to uncover that they've got all these weird little businesses. So one of their weird little businesses is this Van Zandt. And so they filed this just like a little over a month after they find out about these text messages. They make this lawsuit. And I've covered, if you haven't seen it, because there was a lot of disagreement between different law professionals. There was a lot of disagreement about whether or not this was ethical or wrong or clever, about how they did this. But I've covered it, and when I found cases that were Doe lawsuits, and I found the actual New York case law that dealt with these kinds of things. So I did two in-depth reviews about these kinds of lawsuits. So they get this, it's called the Doe lawsuit. And what this lawsuit is for, it's the first step in it is supposed to be a petition, because it's for people you don't know their identity. So one of the examples was someone had this consultant that they fired, and they had their own corporation. Somebody was getting in to their private, kind of like what Stephanie was doing to Jennifer Abel. Someone was getting in, but they didn't know who it was. They had a forensic specialist come in and found that this was happening. They found the IP address of the person who was breaking into their LAN network, but that's all they had. They didn't have an identity. So that's exactly what they needed. They needed what's called a Doe lawsuit. The first thing you do is file this petition. You don't go straight to a complaint and a summons, because you don't even know who it's against yet. So there's a petition, and it's from this company, and they're petitioning T-Mobile, because that's who they're going to get the identity of this IP address from. And so, what was that here? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it drove me crazy. It really did. And I mean, and all of us are going to have different opinions about how we thought it went. And that's fine. You're never going to find a situation where everybody's in complete agreement with how it went. So I just wanted to deep dive it and go into actual New York law and find actual cases of it to show you, rather than just state my opinion about it. So back to this. So they need this person's identity so that they can finish this lawsuit. And so it's not even like this person versus this person, like Blake's was. It's that this person is petitioning T-Mobile, and then the respondent was the Doe, because they didn't know the identity. They needed to get the identity for this person. So, and I forgot why I got into that. So they take this Van Zandt company, but here's the thing. The causes of action, there's 3 causes of action. And one of them's about a contract, about a breach of contract. How do you have a breach of contract cause of action for someone whose identity you don't know? How do you not know the identity of someone that you have a contract with? But here's the thing. No, I haven't seen Anita's theory because I was busy with my episode, and then I went to listen to Lauren, and I did find her website and tag it to go back to it later. But I've heard it's really good, so I am excited to go read that. I think she was on Lauren's live last night, and I think she's like, oh no, when she saw this new information, she's like, oh no, my timeline, because she's got to add all this to it now. But so yeah, so here's what she did. She goes in with this lawsuit. She never asks for a judge. She never files anything else. There's nobody else listed to file anything else. So this thing is in this overcrowded courthouse. It's not asking for anyone's attention. So it's not getting anyone's attention. And it's not going to get anyone's attention. So they put out this subpoena. They get what they want. And then they shut this lawsuit down before anybody notices it. So anybody who was saying, well, the court didn't say anything about it, well, the court allowed it, the court had no idea this happened. This subpoena is not filed. There are two documents. There's the first one, and there's the withdrawal of it. So nobody was overlooking it and going, oh yeah, this is fine, this is normal. That wasn't happening. They got in, got out undetected to do this. And that's why this subpoena is not being shared. And I don't know, for the life of me, I don't know how they thought they were going to conceal this, how they thought they were going to get away with this, how they ever imagined that this was okay. So, okay, so yeah, she's talking about that. Then, this is important too. The same day that this sham lawsuit's filed, this is September 27th. Excuse me, I'll get another sip of water real quick. It's kind of hard when there's no one else to take over the talking. So excuse my drinking, sorry. So I need to learn how to mute myself so you don't have to hear that. So on this very day that they file this, Stephanie Jones, who can't help herself, kind of like everyone on Team Blake, like they cannot stop telling on themselves, but I'm so glad. So Stephanie goes to another employee who's leaving. Oh, well, don't think you're going to go work for Jennifer Abel because her business won't be around much longer. So it's kind of like, that's amazing. Somebody else mentioned that, and I think that's hilarious. What if that's what she was doing? What if she was giving away these sold out Eras Tour tickets to get her way? That would be absolutely hilarious. Who knows? I might have done something crazy for that. But anyway, where was I? So she knows something's going down on that day that she's saying it like that. So that was on the 27th. So then the rest of it's kind of history with that. This is talking about the lawsuit, but I've talked about that a lot. You can go back and see my last two episodes. So she says here that Stephanie surrenders the entire contents of Abel's phone. So I'm thinking that perhaps this is something they've already retrieved in their discovery, in their subpoenas. This might be something that they already know, because to say the entire contents, that's a big statement. Like, I think if they didn't have the evidence of this, they probably would have worded it just simply some of the contents of her phone. But to say the entire contents, I feel like they might know that. They might have that in evidence already. I think it's just my opinion. But then after they got all of that, then, as it says, once the New York Times came through for Lively. So that's what happened. They got this information, and we know that they were in contact with the New York Times in October. Because we have, was it Leanne? Is Leanne still in the chat? Leanne, was that you that found out that about the metadata, that this happened in October? Oh, Lauren's about to go live. Okay, I'm going to hurry up then because I don't want to cross over with her. Yeah, someone found the metadata to show that she was in contact with the New York Times way back in October. And then this part just makes me so sad because I just can't help but think what this would feel like. Like, I can't even, so it was Leanne. Okay, good. I thought it was Leanne. And Leanne's great. If you guys don't follow her on X, she does beautiful breakdowns right there on X. You know, and I mean, bless her heart, because that's not easy, following the tracks of those, because you can only put so much in each post. But she does a really good job of breaking the documents down. So if you find her on there, she's definitely worth following. So, but I can't even imagine. I'm a very private person. And so this would be like the literal death of me if this happened to me. So her life gets turned upside down. Her career's destroyed. Her reputation's destroyed. Her private information is leaked. Her emails. And look at this. Her social media pages are filled with a daily stream of death threats and abuse. And this makes me so angry because the people who are like die-hard supporting Blake in the absence of reason, and yes, I say that, and yes, I mean it, in the absolute absence of all reason, because once someone has been shown to be a liar, why do you continue trusting them? How many lies has this woman been caught in? What's it gonna take for people to recognize she's a liar? But they claim that they're doing it because exactly. Yes, thank you. I am not AI. I have heard that. Like, it used to be almost on a weekly basis, you know, and now it's like monthly, like new people coming in, because my people that have been around for a while, they heard me go through COVID and colds, and my voice changed. They've heard me cry. They've heard me laugh. They've heard me mad. So like, they know, because AI can't do none of that stuff. But yes, now you guys can tell everyone I'm not AI. But anyway, where was I? Oh, her supporters, Blake's supporters. I'll get there. They say they're doing it to support women and to believe in women. But how many women have they harmed and threatened to harm in the name of Blake? You can no longer say that you're doing this to support women and that you believe all women when you're out there sending another woman death threats. You're just deranged, because that's not normal. It is not normal to get so mad on the behalf of some celebrity who would probably never acknowledge you, ever, does not know who you are, does not care who you are. We've seen this woman in public. I mean, she's trying to do a little bit better now, but this woman does not like people around her. Even on a closed set, she's walking around with a bodyguard. So how in the world, by the way, was all this stuff supposed to have happened? People walking in unannounced in her trailer when she's got this bodyguard around her all the time. But anyway, but these people are just like living their lives to support her, and just going around and antagonizing and being cruel to who? Largely other women. it's crazy. It's like, stop pretending that you're doing this in the name of women, because you absolutely are not. If you're tearing down all these other women, you're not. You're doing it because, I don't know, you're somehow obsessed with Blake. Did she heart one of your comments on her Instagram one day and you think you're besties? Or what happened to make you do this, to make you like this? I don't understand it. Because like my support of Justin, to be honest, I didn't even really know who the man was when this all broke. And I, very first off, I'm like, what a creep. How, why does he think he can get away with this? Why is he doing this? I was totally on Blake's side because I tend to be a believe all women person. Blake is the first woman I've ever doubted her story of something like this. And it was only after stuff started coming out, that proved that she was lying. And I was able to switch sides and never look back. But I have always said that, if I also don't know Justin. So it looks like everybody who's ever worked with him is all saying wonderful things about him. So it seems like he's a great guy. But if something in the trial comes out and he did do something disgusting, I don't have a problem calling him disgusting. Will Blake still be a sickening liar to me? Absolutely. It won't exonerate her, but I will happily admit that he's gross if it turns out that he's gross. But for some reason, these people with Blake, like no matter what she does, they're just like, they just fight harder. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? But anyway, okay, rant over. Where was I? Okay, so they have all of this. Yeah, and much harm to her personal and professional life. Now, here's where it gets very, very exciting. The causes of action have changed. I need a drink for this. Hold on. Let me mute myself. Okay, I found the mute button so you didn't have to hear me drink. Violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. And notice what it says. Do you see that USC? Do you know what this is? This is a federal crime. This is a federal crime with prison time. So, do you know what could happen? She could go to jail. She could go to federal prison for this if this gets found. Now, how does that work? This itself is a civil lawsuit. This is not going to like split to half criminal, half civil lawsuit. It's not going to happen like that. But if in the realms of a civil lawsuit, it comes out that someone committed a crime, guess what happens? It gets investigated by actual law enforcement. If it's federal, this is going to be FBI. And there will be a second lawsuit. It won't combine with this. This is just simply for Jennifer Abel's damages. If the FBI sees this and says, we want to pursue this, there will be an actual federal investigation, a federal trial, federal fines, and possible prison for this one. So when I saw this, I could not believe it. Lauren was reading this out and I'm like, what? Yeah. So yeah. And then I stayed up till 3, recording an episode that I didn't feel like editing today. So second cause of action, violations of Stored Communications Act. Do you see the USC? Federal crime. Same thing. She can go to prison. She can be investigated by the FBI for this. Violations of the Federal Wiretap Act. I mean, you don't even have to see the USC. You see Federal Wiretap Act. Federal crime. She can go to prison for this. She can have a federal trial for this. The next one. This is a state crime. Violations of California Penal Code 502. So this would be a third investigation by the state of California. So this would be something the DA would act on. this also has jail time. So she could end up going to federal prison and or state prison for what she did here. And this is all about what she did with the phone. Now, it doesn't mean that she's, of course, for sure guilty of these things. These would be investigated, and it won't come out of this lawsuit. But if it does turn into investigations, if she does get sentenced to some kind of time, she just better hope and pray that she gets to go to federal trial first and gets to go to federal prison. Because if she goes to state trial first and gets convicted and gets sent to state prison, that's the bad one. That's the one you don't want to go in. This is where you have the hard criminals. Federal is more could be financial crimes and, white collar crime. Can you imagine? This could have cost her actual time. Yes, like Murdo, Jill, just like that. We saw that. Yeah. So people, if they have something they're getting investigated for and they have a choice, they want federal prison because it's a much, even the menu, the actual cells, everything about it is so much better in federal prison. But can you imagine this revenge, this toxic, nasty, these nasty ways of her have driven her to do what she did. And look at where she could end up. She could end up in prison over this. It's insane. Was it worth it? And here's the thing, when it comes down, when this gets real like this, these people are not nice people. They're going to be throwing each other under the bus. Stephanie's going to try to throw Blake under the bus. Blake's going to try to throw them under the bus. But here's the thing, when I saw this, if Blake and Ryan actually had physical control of this stuff, I'm sure they didn't do the actual tapping, which is the big reason that she's in trouble. But if they actually physically had the contents of this woman's phone, there could end up being something that they end up actually being investigated by law enforcement themselves. It's going to be really interesting once they start throwing each other under the bus about what's going to happen. Actors have an LLC. It could be a lot of reasons. Let me, where'd you go? Oh, it's sneaking up. So it could be a lot of things. A lot of times, if you're a big, usually you just have an LLC. It's a protection so that you do your business through the LLC. It keeps your personal stuff separate from your business stuff, so that if you get sued for some reason, they can't come in and take your home and things like that. You have your business assets separate from your personal assets. That's one reason. But another thing, sorry, I need a drink again. Sorry, I've been talking too long. Okay, sorry about that. So another reason, like if people say like it's a contractor or like Justin, so he owns Wayfarer, but he doesn't want to run every single movie through the same company. He wants them all separated financially, insurance-wise, everything. He wants it separately. So for each movie he would be producing, he would create an LLC for that movie. And that just keeps everything separate. It's cleaner that way. But it's not going to help you with your taxes or anything like that. It's just a cleaner way of separating your business stuff. All right, let me see. Oh, I absolutely believe that. I think it goes both ways too. But okay, where was I? So So yeah, it could end up, depending on how involved they were with this stuff, something could happen. And now, so everything we were guessing about the sham lawsuit, but now it looks like it's a lot more realistic. And with all of this attention that's going to shine on this, and also, like I said, the dangerous thing about them claiming that what they did was legal, how they got that subpoena, the dangerous thing of that is for all of us. If someone who doesn't like us can go to the courthouse and file this sham lawsuit, and while no one's paying attention, get their subpoena that's not approved by anyone, no one even knows about it, and go get information on us, and we have no idea it's being done, and take it and then just close that lawsuit out, that is so dangerous. I mean, can you imagine? Your neighbor gets mad at you, and so they go down and do something, and then they got your entire life from your phone. It's crazy. This cannot be ignored. This cannot be allowed. And now that it's like really hit the public, and everybody's hearing about it, I really think something will be done now. And I'm so happy about that. And I just have to say, like, before anybody else was talking about this subpoena, we were talking about it here. Do you guys remember? It was like 7 or 8 weeks ago. I did my first podcast about this subpoena. And I feel so excited at how it all came out, because nobody was talking about it. And then everybody was talking about it. And now it got tracked all the way down to this. So I'm so happy to see it go full circle like that. And that something might actually finally be done. But anyway, so that was the exciting part. And then the rest of these are back to her normal, just regular civil causes of action. So these are nothing law enforcement would get involved in. It's just basically like the kinds of things like this, for example, emotional distress. So yeah, that's the biggest news out of this whole thing, other than seeing how her phone was taken and learning a whole lot more about what kind of person Stephanie Jones is and what led to this sham lawsuit. So a lot of good stuff in what's normally a very, very boring document. Like the least interesting documents to ever read are these answer ones. But anyway, I don't know what time Lauren's starting, but I don't want to talk over hers. And she's covering it right now. Okay. Oh, that's a big one, Jed Wallace. I know she was waiting for that, and I want to go listen to that too. So if you guys don't follow Lauren, she's great. She gets straight to it. As soon as these things are released on Pacer, she gets these documents. So I know some people use a what is it, a court listener, I think it's called, and it's free. So if you can get it free, that's great. But Lauren, I have a Pacer account as well. So we can find it first on Pacer, but then you have to pay for it. So she's paying for all these, and she gets it out before anybody, and she goes through them, and she's just really fun to listen to. So she's the Court of Random Opinion if you don't follow her on YouTube. But thank you guys so very much. I can't believe we had 600 people today. That's great. Thank you guys so much. I was terrified, and you made it not so scary. So thank you all for your support. I'm sorry I wasn't able to watch the chat so much, but I am easily distracted. And and I think the Jed Wallace won't be on with all the will it now, because I think it got moved. Anyway, I'm not sure. I haven't looked for it. But yeah, if you guys are interested in Jed Wallace's it's his motion to dismiss, right? Is that what it is? Head on over to Lauren's channel to give that a listen. But yeah, thanks everybody, and have a great night.